We had spoken about the meeting that the Prime Minister held yesterday to take stock of the entire situation. Prime Minister and Morbi right now.
Yes, so Prime Minister will be landing any moment. Perhaps in the next few seconds, we will be seeing those visuals. The Prime Minister's chopper arrived in Morbi. He was in Ahmedabad yesterday. He was in Gandhinagar, in fact. He had cancelled all his election meetings, but he did not go to the site of tragedy because the rescue operation was underway then. Of course, that is the question that has been asked by the political opponents of the BJP, but the response that has come certainly is, and convincingly so, that if the Prime Minister moves, then the entire administration is involved in it. And at that time, the first concern certainly was to ensure that all those who have fallen into the river, they should be rescued safely. So, Anusha, Prime Minister is from the state of Gujarat. He has governed the state of Gujarat as the Chief Minister for 12 years. And he understands each and every district, each and every nook and corner of the state very, very well. And ever since the tragedy unfolded, Anusha, from Sunday evening onwards, the Prime Minister has been in touch with the Chief Minister, Mr. Bhupendra Patel. He has in touch with the DGP, the Chief Secretary and others, and trying to take stock of minute-to-minute development in terms of the rescue and relief operation. Right now, it's the relief operation which is underway. The rescue operation is more or less over. So now the accountability has to be fixed. Perhaps the heads will roll, even the civic authorities who perhaps didn't say that they did not know that a bridge of this nature was reopened after renovation, who did not give the NOC, but the bridge was opened. So several questions that remain unanswered. Have lessons been learned for the future that a tragedy of this nature should not happen in any other part of the country? All these questions remain unanswered, but the Prime Minister right now is arriving in Morbi to meet the people of Morbi who have just undergone a massive, massive tragedy, loss of human lives, several children and women who have lost their lives in this very, very unfortunate tragedy.
Maria, you speak about two very critical facets of this entire story. One, of course, is the special connection that the Prime Minister has with the state. And of course, we don't need to give the context of it. But the fact that he's himself going on ground zero, taking a stock of the situation, meeting people and families who have been affected, also provides a much needed healing touch. And the second fact of it, that if there are civic authorities, officers who are responsible for this mess that happened, for this unfortunate tragedy that happened, heads will roll.
Yes, that's right. And those officers, Anusha, who have worked very closely with Prime Minister over the last 20 years in his role as Chief Minister of Gujarat and also for 8 years as the Prime Minister, they talk about how the Prime Minister goes into minutest of details. So by now he would have, taken stock of, when we say taken stock of, it would certainly mean how, and all those questions that are being asked would have been asked by now. And, it is certainly very clear that it's not just the ticket collector and those security officer, guards who are responsible. There are heads that have to roll on the top. So for the moment, I think it is the message that is coming from the Prime Minister that he is very hands-on, that he is monitoring. When he says it's monitoring, he'll ensure that accountability is fixed. And when it is about buck stops with whom, the buck stops with whom question will also be answered here. Anusha, we have seen how there have been incidents of cyclone in other parts of India, be it, during Bengal cyclone or cyclone that had hit Odisha-Bengal border last year. The Prime Minister went there soon after the entire rescue operation was over. The messaging there was loud and clear that when it comes to human tragedy, when it comes to natural calamity, the Prime Minister would want to be with the people of the state. And we have seen that happen in other states as well. I can give you several examples. The Prime Minister has travelled soon after the rescue operation is over to ensure and oversee the relief work. The compensation has been announced, ex gratia payment, which will be given to the next of kin, has been already announced. But I think at this moment, much more than that is needed. There has to be closure, and the closure of this nature, particularly at a time when they were there for, those who had got onto that bridge were there to participate in celebrations.
Festivities,
and if celebrations and festivities lead to calamities or the tragedies of this nature, then it certainly is a very depressing situation to be in. And that is the reason why Prime Minister's presence will add that much needed healing touch that we are talking about.
Maria, the closure that you speak of, which is very much needed. And, when it's a natural calamity or a disaster, people still have, the unknown to blame to, that it happened and nobody really had control. This is a man-made disaster. And, talking from the point of view of criminal investigation, prosecutions, FIRs, arrest, even in a best case scenario, if the MD of a private company is arrested, the Indian Penal Code and the best of the lawyers will tell you that there is very little that happens in cases of criminal negligence of this nature. There are various examples that exist. It's only in the presence of a good and strong political will that heads roll and, there's some kind of accountability which is fixed on these, babus or officers who are working at the local level. Otherwise, it's very, very easy to duck the due process of law.
Yes, absolutely, Anusha. And that is the reason why questions are being asked as to why the Oreva company has not been named in the FIR. That why the top management of Oreva has not been named. All these questions have been asked. Remember, this entire Ajanta Oreva company, which is a subsidiary of the main Ajanta company, has much to explain, just as the civic authorities there have much to explain. And I think that is where the accountability will be fixed. If you look at the Prime Minister's own track record as the Chief Minister of Gujarat, he has worked with great degree of transparency. And in that transparency, we have also seen accountability being fixed. He has had a very, iron grip over the administration of the state, and he has functioned in a way which has sent message that any kind of lapse of this nature will not be tolerated. And that is the reason why I think when he meets the civic authorities, when he meets those who are ailing and injured people at the civic hospital, when he visits the site of the tragedy, he will be able to perhaps get the ground assessment. And thereafter, the sense certainly is that soon after the Prime Minister leaves, there would be tougher action that will be taken. And this visit of the Prime Minister, Anusha, we have been talking about it. This is the state of Gujarat. This is the state about which the Prime Minister talked about in 2013 when he embarked on his national journey as the Prime Minister of this country. From Chief Minister of Gujarat to the Prime Minister, this is the moment when the Prime Minister of India is visiting his home state, and more so at a time when he understands that the people of Morbi are shaken. They have suffered a massive loss. A tragedy of this nature has shaken them. And that is the reason why visit of the Prime Minister will add that healing touch that we are talking about, Anusha. And I think that is what is needed. When you see that the head of the government, the head of the country is with you in this hour of tragedy, in this hour of great need, to stand with you shoulder to shoulder as you share the grief with your members of family.
Political will and this healing touch is much required at an instance like this. Cutting across